Thank you for taking the time to tune in with us. Here on Unclamped, we recognize that every patient and caregiver carries a story, each one shaped by unique experiences, challenges, and triumphs. Before we dive in, we want to take a few minutes to introduce ourselves so you can get to know the voices behind the mic, the journeys that brought us together here, and the passion that fuels this space. Because this isn't just a podcast, it really is about community, and every story matters.
All right, so today I thought we would do something fun just to mix it up a little bit. I mean, we're coming up on St. Patrick's Day, so I felt, why not? Let's just make it fun. So today we're going to play Lucky to be Unclamped, because sometimes what looks like luck is actually resilience, preparation, or community. And sometimes what feels unlucky is really just the beginning of growth. So we're going to kick it off, and just to kind of set the boundaries for it. So we're going to have a lucky charm, which is a moment of gratitude or growth, or an unexpected good. Make your own luck, which is like your advocacy, your boundaries, and your mindset shifts, or unclaimed truth, which is just the hard reality, but with perspective and power. Are you ready, Crystal?
I am. Let's try something fun. Let's have fun.
Yeah. In the spirit of St. Patty's Day. Okay, so round one. Is it luck or something more? Ready?
Yeah.
I found the right GI on my first try.
Was not luck. Was something more.
Okay.
It was luck that there was a GI within the system. So the first system I went to had a GI, but the first GI I saw was only upper motility, so esophageal motility and acid reflux. But he then referred me to the motility clinic that they had. So my second GI was the GI, as an adult, I should say, was the GI that I stuck with. So yours?
Okay. Well, mine was a little bit of make your own luck and the unclaimed truth. So I can't pick because we had a really twisted road. So first GI was definitely a stepping stone, maybe the next third or fourth. But eventually we got to where we needed to be. So I definitely think, well, I guess when I say that, I think I made my own luck there. And we landed where we needed to land. And sometimes that's a complicated road.
Yeah. Home infusion nurse, was that luck or chance?
Oh.
How did it change your life?
I have to say luck. I love our nurses. I think me being as educated as I am and being able to recognize when, things weren't going the way they should be, that helped me kind of see education opportunities. But the fact overall, I've had really great nurses. What about you?
My first nurse that I remember, so with my first started, got sent home, and I would say luck. He was really good, pushed for home, like for you to learn everything. If I had the nurse I currently have that comes out occasionally now, she's also really good. The nurse I had in between, which I didn't have a nurse for years, 7 years. And then all of a sudden I had to have a nurse. And that was, can you say unlucky? Can we rip off like multiple? That definitely took some advocacy, and changing home infusion companies. So that was advocacy and tough, unclamped. So.
Yeah. Well, I mean, you got there, which is what's important.
I got there.
Sometimes it's a lot of teaching moments, right? All right.
Too many.
So, insurance approved my infusions or a medication without a fight.
Oh, that was initially not an issue at all. Right now, my infusion company, with the last EOB I got, they're waiting on $40,000. But I think that's more of a billing. They will get paid. They got paid part of it. They will get paid the other part. It's just for my secondary insurance, and it's a billing issue. So I would say some advocacy. So I made my own luck kind of with that, but it was kind of lucky.
Yeah. No, I can relate to that. I mean, I feel like the last 5 to 7 years have really just changed the landscape in home infusion in general. So, um, just as a consumer and as a consumer family, we're just the stress is more than it should be. The mindset is always like, don't burden the patient, like, but we need to be burdened because, we are losing access to care, and that's a problem. So before, like, I would order supplies and I'd be like, my insurance is paying for this. Whatever I need. And now it's kind of like, scaling back and understanding reimbursement and, what that itemization really looks like, which doesn't look like anything. It's just TPN, so, all those ancillary supplies are grazie. And that's a hardship. So I think that at first it was a lucky charm. And now, yeah, it is a lot of advocacy. It's proving like a need. And then, also the unclaimed truth is that sometimes, you don't get what you need and you have to push really, really hard and just hope and work on policy changes.
And sometimes the unclaimed truth is you don't really need it. You just really want it. There's not necessarily a good reason for it. And so you get what you get, because that's really what they have.
I don't say that. I hate that.
I didn't say
delicious. You get what you get and you don't get upset.
I didn't say that part.
Okay.
I just said you get what you get.
I'm just saying.
Because
Okay.
sometimes that's what they physically have contracts for. So if you like a certain brand of saline, but they have contracts with a different company, but no, I only like this brand. Well, they have a contract with, A company,
Yeah.
and you like B company. So you can't really, it's saline. So unless you have a medical reason as to why you can't use that saline, and there are some medical reasons why you can't use like different heparins and stuff, because I know people that they're allergic to the plastic, so they can't use the pre-drawn heparins. But that takes some advocacy and stuff like that. But in general, most people, like, if that's your biggest worry, it's not in the perfect syringe that works for you, then you're in a pretty good spot. I know it sucks to hear that, but it's the unclaimed truth.
I think that the clinical rationale is always really important, right? I mean, I think you have to be able to prove that, the reasonable person would agree with you that that's like what is needed. But all right.
This is a fun one. I met another TPN patient who gets it. I would say luck.
Yeah, 100%. 100% luck. I mean, that's how I met you. So, and Gabby, I mean, and it's a support system. And it's just not feeling alone. So definitely 100% luck, but so awesome.
I would agree.
What about
with
you?
That.
Yeah.
It's just, that's luck. Luck when I met Hadar, and then luck when I met you. Ironically, it was luck because she came to a muscular dystrophy support group, and I happened to be there that day. And so it was, so that was pure. That was pure luck, pure the earth lining, making everything work like it's supposed to, which then brought us here, brought me to you, brought me to Unclamped. So.
Yeah, no, I agree with you. I mean, so when I met you and Hadar, I was in a place where, Olivia was fairly newly diagnosed with mitochondrial disease. She was on TPN, and there's always that, the pathway of care. And, should a patient that has got dysmotility really be on TPN? And is this acceptable? And is this what we're going to do as a pathway forward? And I was also worried about what she would look like in her, as she matured and as she became a young woman. So meeting you and Hadar was it was amazing. And Melissa, she, like, you guys were just like my role models. I was like, okay, everything's going to be fine. We're all good. There's
Yeah.
people like her, so they can tell me, oh, I've never heard of that before, but there's people like her, and it's all good.
Yeah.
So
Um,
awesome.
so that was, I would definitely say that was luck and the earth lining and all the good stars alignment and stuff. So I'm going to change the wording on this one. So for you, my children's labs are stable.
Oh, I don't know. I kind of always feel lucky when they are. I really do. And relieved because then I don't have to advocate for anything. I'm like, all right, they're good. It's good. What about you?
I would say my labs being stable is more advocacy than anything because I'm the one doing the calculations then when they're not stable and saying, hey guys, can we change it to this, many millimoles of equivalence or millimoles and I've already had the calculation done in my head when we see the lab work and decide what we're going to change it. So I would say that takes a lot of advocacy for me. And yes, I am the nerd that does millimole equivalence in my head.
I was just gonna say, you're like the science geek. Like, I'm just like, big money, big money, big money. Please let me know. Please let me know. Are they good? Are they good? And it's like, yes. Okay.
Yeah. So,
But yeah,
uh,
okay. All
that's a
right.
fun one.
Yeah, no, for sure. I mean, I don't know. The takeaway from that round, I would have to say that in general, I feel like we create our own luck. I feel like there's a lot of stuff we deal with, but we make the best of it. And
Yeah,
good things happen.
I would agree. And going into the next part, which will be reference, the rainbow and reframing. And with the way we change and see our luck makes it good because the speeding is pure luck, but then what we did with it isn't luck at all. We could have just met and said hi and went on with it, but then it took a lot of work and advocacy, and not necessarily advocacy, but it took a lot of work to develop the relationships. So
Yeah, friendships are hard, man. I mean, like, I don't have time. Like, I love friendships and I love meeting people, but it's hard to, like, establish those relationships, especially when you don't live close and, like, you know, um, so yeah, I'd have to agree with you on that one. All right, so the next one, this is like more of a reframing round, okay? Um, and I don't feel like this one affects us personally, but we're gonna go with it. So I didn't get into the college I wanted because of my health.
uh, I
So
did
reframe
get
it for
in.
work or something, maybe.
Yeah. So I did get into all of the places I wanted, um, even given, despite all my health challenges. Now, I guess if I reframed it, I would say I don't, if to frame that into a negative statement and then reframe it to a positive statement. I didn't get, I didn't get to go out with my friends because of my health, right? Or I'll change. I didn't get to go to that conference because of my health, right? Well, there we go. I reframed it to something similar. Um, Now, if I think about it, I didn't get to go to the conference. However, I did get to spend time with one of my friends that I don't get to see very often um, during that time. So it's just, I didn't get to go to the conference, but I got to still see one of the friends that I only see like once a year.
Yeah, no, that's good. I mean, for me, really quickly, I'll speak to myself and to Olivia. So, for me, like job wise, I had to take 6 years off. I was newly out of college. I had a career, and then, you know, um, Olivia wasn't doing well, and my focus and my reframing was I'm gonna take care of Olivia, and I'm gonna figure out how to best support her. So that was definitely, you know, an advocacy like standpoint. But then for Olivia, as she's recently in college and she's a freshman, um, we did a lot of thinking about college and college choices, realistic goals. How far do you want to go? Will you be able to have your medical team like still incorporated in your care? Are there hospitals in the area that can support you? And what's that plan if they can't? Nursing for dressing changes and labs. Like we talked about all the things. And my first choice was so she went to Penn State, which is great. I went to Penn State. It's awesome. I wanted her to go to the branch campus, which was 30 minutes, down the road. So, well, Olivia had other plans. She was like, no, no, I'm gonna, try for main campus. So that she went for it and she got it. But that whole like from the time she put that application in until, she actually went off to college was a lot of preparing and that whole transition piece to make it work. So again, it was a lucky charm that she got in because I wasn't sure because it's highly competitive, but it definitely was something that we had to work at. Yeah.
I had to leave my job, which you touched on that. Oh. So
okay.
Let me answer it from this aspect and reframe it. So I did have to leave my job not because of my PN. If GI was my biggest issue and PN was my challenge on that, I would have had to change positions within my job because I couldn't do the job I was doing.
Well, you were traveling all the time, right?
I was traveling all the time, but I also had responsibilities that would require me to go into the clean room. So I would have had to gown up into, bunny suits and all of that, which I still could have with my port. That wouldn't have changed anything. But since I infused during the day, it would have changed that. So I would have to infuse while I wasn't working to reframe that aspect of it. But it was really my underlying medical, the Mido. I was Mido crashing, which for those that you don't know what Mido crashing is, it's just your body fully being overly depleted of energy and you have 0 ATP or energy left. And so I was in a Mido crash for so long that I had to leave my job, and I still have them so frequently that I can't work anymore. However, it gave me a great foundation and a wealth of knowledge that I can pull on across the industry. So when we talk about infusion pharmacies and stuff like that, like I know what big manufacturing looks like. And it also makes it a little nerve-wracking because people say like aseptic technique, and I'm like, or sterile technique. And I'm like, it's not sterile technique. It can't be. It's aseptic technique. So by leaving my job, and it definitely needs it made my brain have some information I wish it didn't have it at times, because
sometimes ignorance is bliss.
Yes. Sorry. I was going to say sometimes knowledge is annoyance.
Yeah.
But my body doesn't function the way it used to. How would you reframe that?
Well, I can tell you just as a caregiver, 43-year-old me has to work a lot harder to not. And no, but yeah, I don't know. I don't feel like I can answer that one.
Okay.
Truthfully. Because as a caregiver though, I do find, especially now with two, like with one, I felt like really confident and able to, do what I needed to do. And then when David got, put on TPN as well, that kind of just rocked my world. So I feel like if I could, that would be the only way. I just kind of had to figure out everything, reprogram, like reset. What about you?
So my body doesn't function the way it used to. Yes, that's true. However, my body functions the best it can, and I give it the best. As long as I give it what it needs and I listen to it, it functions as well as it can. And I will take that because I have some pretty good, awesome moments, and they're more than the really bad moments. So even if I can have one or two awesome moments in a week, that's totally worth it.
I love that you said that. I love that, like, because we very much have the similar mindset of, we remember more the good or the bad. Like, I was just thinking about like vacations and stuff because I read like a meme and it was like, children hold on to childhood vacations as like kind of like a pillar of like coping as they get older. And I'm thinking, we've had some really great vacations, but we've also had some kind of scary moments during those vacations. But I hope that they remember only the good things because the good things outweigh it. I mean, I'd do it all over again. Even though you have those moments that are hard, celebrating the good moments definitely makes a difference for sure.
I feel behind in my life is the next one.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I think that maybe socially to some degree, I feel behind because, when I took that step back and I had to like relearn, what my life was going to be or you know what I mean? Like refigure out like what my goals were, and then try to re-enter the workforce. That was challenging. So I guess I do kind of have that little like, subconscious, losing, I don't have my right words, but I just always feel like for my age, I'm not where I would want to be professionally.
Professionally, yeah. So you're behind professionally from where you
I would say so.
think you want it to be.
Yeah.
Even though you're in a pretty amazing spot.
Well, I love what I do, and I'm happy. Like, I mean, I honestly believe it found me.
Yeah.
I was in banking, but yeah. What about you?
I felt so ahead in my life for the longest time and now I would say I don't like I feel where what my life is where it's supposed to be. If you would have asked me in the end of 2016, the beginning of 2017, I would have said everything's a complete failure is what I would have, because I completely lost, I wasn't working. But now I would say, no, I feel where my life is, where I'm supposed to be at this moment. And, it's not exactly where it's supposed to be. So just make small changes. And then this time next year, I'll hopefully be exactly where I want to be at. So I don't think you're ever behind in your life. I think you just take a different path.
Yeah. No, I agree with that. It's all about perspective.
And the smallest things, we can change the mindset of it. You can't compare yourself against someone else. And what's the typical saying? Keeping up with the Joneses, right? What does that mean? Because there's always going to be somebody that has something more than you, and there's always going to be somebody that has something less than you or worse than you. So you are where you are, and just make the best of your situation. And some of us are in really, really not good situations, but always try to find the silver lining in something, because when I do, I don't know, it's better. So
yeah, no, I agree with that. All right, so we're going to go into the rapid fire round 3, the unclamped version of our stories. Okay, so rapid fire, no overthinking, just luck or choice. Okay. So speaking up in clinic.
Choice.
Agree. Choice. 100%.
Asking for a second opinion.
Choice.
Is choice.
Definitely choice. Yeah. And it's hard too, because you don't, sometimes it's better to dance with the devil you know.
Oh, yeah. I know how to do that Texas two-step, but I don't know how to do the swing. Yeah.
And just to clarify, though, I don't mean that anybody's a devil. Just like it's just better to know, you know.
I mean, you know who you know what you're dealing with versus,
Yeah.
yeah. Setting boundaries with family. Rapid fire, come on.
Oh, I think that's choice too. These are a lot of choice. What's going on here?
I would agree. I think some people have it easier. I think I'm fortunate, and I wouldn't even say lucky, because I've set myself up that way because I made the choice that to set the boundaries with my family has been easier. So I'm lucky in that way, if you want to say. But it's because of who I am, my personality type, and I already had it set up that way. So it's definitely a choice.
Yeah. What you
Joining
said
us,
luck. Wait,
go
did you
ahead.
say lucky or choice?
I would say choice. I feel
Okay.
lucky. I feel lucky, but it really was like conscious decisions that,
Yeah.
yeah, it
I
was
mean, I can
conscious
support that.
decision.
That makes sense.
Joining a support group.
So that is a little bit of both. I feel like these questions are hitting two different ways. Because like sometimes it's hard to join a support group. Like I technically wasn't like a big support group person. But they're actually very helpful. I mean, that's how we met. And just that peer-to-peer support is just invaluable. It's just it just removes that level of isolation. And yeah, I mean, I feel lucky that I've been in great support groups, like our monthly call that we do with nutrition, a group for all. But it is a choice because it's hard to ask for help and it's hard to know when you're going to benefit from something like that.
I would agree. It was a choice for me to go to the support groups, but I'm lucky that the support groups that I've chosen have been ones that fit me.
Yeah.
Starting therapy, that's definitely a choice. That's definitely a choice.
Yeah, there's no luck in that. It's a very big decision. A lot of thought goes into it from both a provider standpoint and from a patient standpoint. Maintaining the therapy though is also a choice, but it's also like lucky because if you benefit and you see a higher quality of life and you're able to, alleviate some of the issues like malnutrition that you were managing before, I think that that's like sometimes you have to make those take those risks to see if you're going to have the benefit.
And it depends on what therapy we're talking about, right? So are we talking about our IV therapy, our intro therapy, or are we talking about because we were just talking about support group, or are we talking about joining talk therapy?
I see.
So
I mean,
they're all choices.
So I took it. Yeah, no, I hear what you're saying. I took it as a nutrition support, whether it be parenteral or enteral.
Yeah.
But I mean, talk therapy is good too, know? And I love that there's so many like options available now. Like I feel like COVID changed the landscape for that because, you can't just say, I don't have time for it because now you can do virtual sessions. So it makes it more accessible for everyone.
Yeah. So I would say therapy, both are choices if you're doing talk therapy or starting. And I think ending your therapy should be your choice. And there's no shame in ending a therapy. But I think if you're a talk therapy, finding a good therapist can be lucky.
Yeah.
To find someone you click with. So saying no.
It's a choice. It's definitely a choice. Before I had Olivia, I was a fly under the radar chick. I didn't if no one noticed that I was in the room, it was okay. And then when I had her and, my concerns weren't being addressed, and she wasn't doing well, most importantly, that changed. It just completely changed who I was and who I wanted to be, because I just had to be the voice, for her, and make sure that we were heard. I mean, I didn't know what to do, right? But I just knew something needed to be done, and it wasn't just reflux, and it wasn't that I was just a young mom. So can we just move forward, please?
And you weren't that young.
No, I wasn't, but she was my first, so.
Yes, you are a new mom, but it's not like you were 13 or
No,
18 even.
I get it.
So, yeah.
What about you?
So saying no for me, it's definitely a choice. I say no frequently. Yeah, I just, if I'm not gonna do it, it's no. Sometimes it's really, really hard to say no because I want to really do something. Sometimes I do say yes out of guilt, for what I perceive as guilt, but I still I chose that. No. Saying no is like, it's definitely a choice. It's not lucky. Yeah. So there's times there's times I wish I could say no without feeling any guilt. But that's rare because most of the time when I say no, it's no, because it's no, just no.
Yeah.
Not gonna do it. Not gonna take it. So,
Like, I found, like, for me, saying no, like, when I think of, like, in the context of, chronic illness and parental nutrition, like, saying no, I think the hardest thing with saying no for us was if I knew the care plan wasn't going to work. Because you don't want to say no. You know what I mean? Because you don't want to seem, like you don't, like, negative. But if you really know that what's being prescribed isn't going to work and that it's going to fail, like, I'm a firm believer that a patient doesn't fail a care plan. A care plan fails a patient. And I think that happens all too often because patients are afraid to say no. Patients are afraid to say, actually, can I infuse during the day versus overnight? I get that everyone always infuses over the night. Or, like, I just feel like, so when I hear, like, saying no, like, I think of, like, how hard that is in a clinical appointment to be like, actually, like, can we think about that a little more? Because I hear what you're saying and I want it to work, but that's not going to work for me. Or, like, you're going to eat 600 calories by mouth because you can. And it's like, I wish I could, but realistically, maybe it's like 200 or 300 and the goal is 600, but can you support me now? And those are difficult conversations. And I feel like, I don't know, that's how I look at it.
yeah. So when I think of no in those situations, I was thinking more no in like my everyday life of being able to say no to my friends or family, or, hey, do you want to go to do X, Y, or Z? And I say no. That's just bluntly no. Sometimes I say no. Sometimes I actually say yes. Because I want to do, my brain wants to do it, but my body doesn't want to do it. And yeah, that's when there's the consequences. But in the clinical setting, when I say no, like, are you willing to try X, Y, or Z? That takes a lot of thought for me. And it's rarely the only time it's a hard no is when I've already basically experienced it and somebody else is trying to get me to do it again. For example, I do not do well under anesthesia. And I have scoping quite frequently, right? Endoscopies, colonoscopies. Well, you're right. And it could be for a myriad of reasons, right? So I used to go frequently to get Botox into my pyloric sphincter, right? And so those of you that don't remember which one your pyloric sphincter is, that's between your stomach and your intestine, right? So I used to go quite frequently to get, and for me, Botox means there's going to be zero function, because with my neuromuscular disease, if you put Botox in it, Botox, they say, is going to work for, maybe 6 weeks to 3 months, right? Botox for me can last a good year to 18 months, if not longer. It's lasted 2 years in one instance. If they get it into the muscle. And so we have to really be careful as to where we're using Botox. So we were going in to put Botox into my pyloric sphincter to help my gastric emptying, right? Because my sphincter spasms a lot. All my muscles spasm, but that sphincter we were going to take care of that way. And we're getting ready to put Botox in, and the the gastroenterologist that was doing it wasn't my normal GI, because he stopped doing procedures at the time, for his own health reasons and stuff. So he stopped doing the procedures, and the guy that was doing it, and I'm like, yeah, we're not doing this. He sent in the anesthesiologist and all this. I'm like, I don't need to talk to her. And I'm like, I can discuss, if something goes horribly wrong, but what's going to go horribly wrong with you, doing if you rip something, obviously, you're going to have to go in and fix it. Like, I can consent to that. I'll consent to anesthesia, if you're having to open me up because you puncture something. But I'm not consenting to any type of anesthesia, besides oral, like lidocaine, liquid lidocaine to gargle to get past my gag reflex, because I do not come out of propofol. So I do not, I will be not conscious for about 48 hours, and then I will be groggy for 72 hours post that. And so I'm like, do you really want me to, and then you're going to have to intubate me. I'm like, do you really, like, intubation is not normal for an upper GI, right? And so I'm like, do you really want to do that when you could just give me the lidocaine, I can gargle it, and we can be done with this in like literally 5 minutes in and out. He's like, I don't know, I don't feel comfortable. And so I was like coaxing him into being comfortable with it. And then once we got in there and he saw how easy it was, he's like, whoa, like that was like the fastest I've ever been in and out. So, and then there was basically no recovery for me. Like, I still couldn't talk for a while afterwards because it took a long time for the lidocaine to wear off. But I could sign myself out. I could write, I could communicate. And yeah, it was good. So
yeah. But that goes back to like just being able to communicate your needs and be able to like understand and hear what they're offering, and just be like, well, you're not saying no because you want to be combative or because you don't want to be compliant or adherent. It's because sometimes you just know. Sometimes it's just like, that's just not going to work. And being able to, it's not just a hard no, like, I don't want to. It's like, how do we open up that conversation for exploring and discovering what's going to work?
Yeah.
So you both feel good when you leave. You know what I mean?
It was a hard no, because I'm not going to put up the consequences of it. But once he understood the reasons, because I would have not had the procedure if he insisted on doing it. I would have found another GI to do it. Because that was a hard no for me, but only because I knew the outcome and the consequences of it, for my body, and also the consequences for him. So he would have, this was like a 3:00 in the afternoon procedure. So somebody would have had to stay around in the outpatient until they figured out that I'm not waking up. And then they would have had to send me up to a room and all of that stuff. And I'm like, no, I'm saying no to this for very valid reasons. Yeah. And if he would have done his research and looked at the last time I had a scope, or, you know, like the time I had a scope 5 years ago, and they ended up, my scoping was at 6 a.m. and we ended up leaving at 8 p.m. and Michael had to sign me fully out because I couldn't even still open my eyes. Like there was a reason for the no. I'm like, I'm not saying no for no reason. And normally there's a lot of thought behind it. So right. But that was that was a very rapid fire at the end, by the way.
Right. Well, no, I mean, I feel like the takeaway, at least for me, first of all, I think the game was fun. But is that we really make our own luck, right? I mean, like, and you can find luck in any situation. Because I know, you know, especially with 2 kids on TPN, like sometimes it just feels like I only have bad luck or I'd have no luck at all. So, you know, so being able to kind of just stop and reframe and think like, you know what, I do make a lot of choices, but I make lucky ones. I make lucky choices sometimes. And they work to my advantage. And sometimes I just have a learning experience. I mean, either way, it is kind of lucky, and it's opened us up to this community and being able to, you know, figure ourselves out and support others in the process, which is awesome.
I agree. So I'm lucky that I got to spend this time with you, and I'm lucky that I got to spend the time with you guys on Unclamped, and I hope you enjoyed our game. We could definitely come up with some interesting questions. So thank you. And we will see you next time.
Take care.
We want to thank you for tuning in with us on Unclamped. We hope today's conversation reminded you that every diagnosis holds a story, one of strength, compassion, and connection. We want to give a heartfelt thank you to our sponsor, AvivoRx, for their commitment to supporting patients and families through their nutrition support journey. Their dedication makes conversations like this possible and provides a platform for the patient voice. We'd also love to hear from you too. If you have a story to share or a topic you'd like us to explore, reach out anytime at nutritiongroup4all@gmail.com. And be sure to find us on YouTube, follow along on our social media, and listen wherever you get your podcasts. Thank you.